that you love me.
All right, good. Hello, welcome back to the Roman Anton podcast. We are in Bangkok, Thailand, and our guest today is Roger DeNoon. I'm very excited to have Roger back. Roger, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your coming in. So for a little bit of context, we got Roger right up on the screen there, and I think it says copyright 2017. So that's a younger version of you.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
I'm just like, what happened?
It's only 5 years. I mean, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
All right. So Roger up on the screen. Roger in Bangkok. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to be back.
You went back to the States when?
2019. Actually, I went back Christmas Day 2019.
I didn't realize that was such a big day. Christmas Day. Did you land in California or?
I actually left here on Christmas and landed there on Christmas as
Right.
well. I was like 7 o'clock in the morning when I got there.
California or?
Yeah, Southern California in LA.
So you and I, a year before, did a similar departure a couple days before Christmas. 2 years before.
2 years. It was 2017. And then, 2018 was a weird year for me.
Right.
And then 2019 is when I went back home thinking I'd go back to work.
Right.
And that didn't work out so well. I mean, I found work, and I think I worked 8 days. And then they closed the shop. Everything closed down. Couldn't go back to the courthouses. Couldn't do anything.
That was right. So we played Jai Tep. You left. We played Jai Tep, and then that was our last gig.
That was January, yeah.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah. But good, I mean, good memories, good times. And Jai Tep, I minus the amplifier, I think it was a great gig.
Yeah, so let me back you up. So welcome. I'm glad to have you here. So original member of this band, Roman Anton Band in Bangkok, collaborator in many regards. You and I cut that plastic template to make reproductions of the artwork, and that never took off. But that simple thing of you and me trying to do it resulted in the box sets.
Yeah.
I mean, it was get it going. We just got it going. And it was very funny because moments ago we showed you the book and you hadn't seen this. So this is the songbook for our first album or our first disc or our first MP3 stick or whatever we're calling it of 10 songs. And in this book, there are several photos of you, and you may have seen those or not in the past, but we have your song, Words and Music by Roger DeNoon, Tell Me, parenthesis, What's Going On, question mark, parenthesis, and there's a little summary of the song here, and hopefully we got all your lyrics right, and hopefully we got the beats right. But this is the first CD, so I'm gonna sign this for you and give it to you. But
Okay, that's cool.
I've been holding the copy for you, obviously.
That's great.
But this is the music book. So for me and Frank and Roger, it took us a long time to do this, but we have some pretty cool pictures of our trip to, and Frank did a really good job of finding topical photos. So we got a picture of that Jai Tep.
Oh, that's great.
Right,
That's a great
Frank?
picture
you
right
picked
there.
this one out, right? Maybe you can splash these on the when you do the video, but do we got this one? I like this one. This must have been after.
Let me see that again. That was a pretty good picture.
You're going to go take a picture with your camera and post it tonight.
And you know what? I need to get another one of those shirts because I gave mine away.
What is it?
You'll be seeing random. Never
Okay,
mind.
yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
I'm not going to say anymore.
All right, that's an RA. All right, so Frank, we have a sale. So Roger gets the prior band member discount.
Oh, geez.
It's a 100% reduction in price.
That's too funny.
Yeah. There was another one I wanted to show you in here. This is so funny. I mean, we don't need to do this on live, but we got the big band footage, which we posted some of those, right?
Yeah, that's great.
From the big show there at Jai Tep, which was fun. But we have one of you. Oh, it's right before you. Yeah, it just is. It's a really uncanny picture because I remember the day like it was yesterday, Raj. Me, you, and Frank. We meet the video crew. We have the credentials to go into this restricted space for filming. We've got the Department of Antiquities or whatever it was to issue our pass, and we were walking up the. What's that? Walk this road. Yeah. I think it's this one. And so this is yours. As long as you're alive, you know, walk this road alone. So Frank made the caption in the picture, but do you remember that? Walking down that street?
Yeah, that was in Myanmar.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that picture, but I remember it.
Yeah. I think it's a great picture.
You do?
You don't like it?
I
think it's badass.
I don't know. I kind of look like a
this
dork.
is me over here. So do
Yeah.
I. I look like a duck. There's some kid walking. I'm sure we didn't get his release for that, but that street, I love that street because it has those
that was
bells.
awesome there.
Remember those big bells? I wanted to buy one, and the guy, he said it cost like 65 tickles, and I was like, what the hell is a tickle?
Yeah.
But it would have been like $800 to send that bell home.
That was an awesome street because you can't see in that picture, but if you look in the other direction, you've got that huge temple.
Yeah.
What's the name of that temple again?
That's Shwedagon Pagoda.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, so we're jumping ahead, but and we have the one that we've put out on social media as well. So heaven forbid we reuse it again. But name that tune.
Oh, that's one of my favorite pictures right there.
Right, of us, right, Frank?
Yeah, did a selfie in front of a dirty mirror on the way back to Bangkok.
That was after the show.
I didn't think that would even, I mean, who knew that would actually turn out to be a good picture?
Was I driving the car alone?
You were.
Remember that? You guys are up front all relaxed. And
I don't remember who.
yeah,
there were two vehicles.
I have my car. I was alone. And you guys are going so fast that my governor was going off, so it was beeping the whole way. Beep,
how
beep,
funny.
beep. And I had these wads of paper shut in my... And when we did sound check, my hearing was so blown from that ride that I couldn't hear anything.
That's
8
funny.
hours. I was like, oh, God, I can't hear anything.
Oh, that's great.
Anyway, so there's your book.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah. So, well, let's back up. So,
Okay.
2 phases to this then. When I met you. We'll get those dates nailed down, but let's go back and do some history. So I always get a little bit confused, and I wanted to clear this up, and I wanted to get it on the record for the podcast here. So I consider you a California born and raised.
Not quite, but close enough.
Why Southern? I more specifically San Diego.
Well, San Diego was like after the military. That's where I went because I had a friend there.
I thought you were born there too, though.
No, I was actually born in Illinois, in Chicago.
Jeez, I knew we had a Midwest thing, but I
Yeah,
can't believe I bollocksed the date.
But we bailed out though because my grandfather was losing his eyesight, and the weather in Chicago was
okay.
too extreme for him.
Too dry, too cold.
Too cold,
yeah,
much
yeah.
too cold. So we ended up going to California because my uncle was living in California, and we stayed with him for a while. But we went when I was 6 years old.
6.
So, yeah, I was 6.
So what part of Chicago? You remember?
Not really. It was cold as hell.
Proper Chicago, like
it was in the
skyscrapers?
city. Yeah, we were in the city. But no, we weren't like downtown though. I mean, yeah, we were off. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. But I just remember one time, I think I was 4 or 5 years old, and I was holding my grandmother or my grandfather's hand, and I remember the snow was so deep that I fell in and I couldn't see anything, and I was screaming for help, and they had to come and pull me out of the snow.
You think that's real, or you think you made it up?
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah. But that's about as horrifying as it gets to be avalanched, right?
I have a few weird stories or a few weird memories. There was a famous restaurant or a real well-known restaurant back then called the Gold Coin. And I remember one time the wind was so strong, and I was just a little kid. So the wind was so strong that I started to come up off the ground, and my grandfather grabbed me. So I have these, distant memories of Chicago that are odd.
Of sorcery and magic.
Yeah, totally.
Grandfather lifting me off the ground.
Something was lifting me up, or either that or I made it up. But either way, it's a cool memory.
So were you living with Mom at that point?
Well, I went back and forth between my mom and my grandmother.
Right.
And my mom, bless her soul. I mean, she was a beautiful woman, but she had some situations that she was dealing with. So most of my younger years, I spent with my grandparents.
Right.
I pretty much grew up with my grandmother. Was kind of like my mom for the most part.
Yeah. And was she much older, or was there a closer age?
There was me, my mom 20 years older, my grandmother 20 years older.
So a 40-year older.
Yeah. So, but they were, back in those times, they didn't, I don't know, they ate what they wanted until they got sick and went to the hospital, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they weren't in very good health by the time that, like by our age, they were already in the hospital all the time.
Yeah.
So it was, the last 10 years or so of their lives were pretty difficult.
And so you have other family members?
I got my brother living in California,
Right.
and I've got 2 nieces, And then let's see what else. Yeah, that's it. I mean, the extended family, of course, from the in-laws, but that's it.
So if you look at our website, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at what you just told me.
Sure, you're not.
Yeah, no, because I want to insert the story into our website. Has an interview of you talking about the first time you got a drum kit.
Mm-hmm. Is that documented somewhere?
Yes.
I didn't know that. You're gonna have to send me the link. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I sent it to you like 10 times. All right, for a guy who's on
okay,
social
you know
media.
me, man. How many times have I told you about my first concert when I was 14? Come on.
All right, wait, hold on. Let's do the interview. Frank Rogers' first concert?
Journey and Journey opened for ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. 14 years old, Anaheim Stadium. It was a great concert. I didn't see a damn thing. I'm short. The whole crowd I never knew the force of a crowd. I mean, I can understand how people get trampled now.
Yeah.
Because when they crowd in, there's thousands of people there, and you're not going anywhere. I had to pee. I couldn't get out, and I couldn't see. All I saw was lights because I'm like, being short sucks. I mean, let's be honest. But I'm like, I can't. All I see is lights. I didn't see the concert.
So was it the Wheel in the Sky album?
All of that, yeah. That because Journey, it was, what was it, 1978, 79, something like that. And so that was their one and only album, but it really took off.
I saw that same tour.
Did you?
At Summerfest, Milwaukee Summerfest.
Fantastic.
And I was standing on a bench, and the bench broke, and so I had to rise up to see above the crowd too. So probably the same month or period. We could probably
so
look
you
it up.
probably saw all the same flashing lights as I was seeing. So it was a great concert. The sound and everything was fantastic. I'd never heard Journey before, but ELO I'd been listening to, so I knew their stuff.
So who opened for who?
Journey opened for ELO.
Interesting.
And here's what I remember the most about that whole night is during the afternoon, everybody's still kind of just chilling out on the outfield there at Angel Stadium or whatever. And there was a point when Van Halen came on, and they were brand new on the scene. Nobody had seen or heard Van Halen before.
This is a new part of the story, Frank.
Well, it's a podcast. I mean, we can get away with it now. We were practicing before. So anyways, you hear this war siren or whatever that is.
Was that? Don't.
And we're all just like, what is that?
Running from the devil?
Dun, 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 dun. What the hell is that? That's my biggest memory from that day.
Yeah.
Just hearing Eddie Van Halen's guitar and that song for the first time, and I'm like, oh my God, whoever these guys are, they're awesome. Yeah. That was
their scene there, right? Southern California. So they were.
That's weird. They were from like Burbank or something, Pasadena, something like that.
So we have another anecdote. So I will try and cover all of these so they're permanently etched into the podcast universe.
Okay.
But what was the other concert that he asked us 500 times if we knew we saw? It was Frank. Test number 2. Twisted Sister. Motley Crue.
Oh yeah, Motley Crue. That was when Tommy Lee had the spinning drum kit. Yeah, we've been through this before. So back to my drums. My first.
No. Come on. So the second one was, but who did Motley Crue play with?
Guns N' Roses opened for him, and it was the first time I'd ever seen Guns N' Roses. They were brand new on the scene. I was in the Army. It was like 1986, 87, and we had good-looking girlfriends at the time. Me and my buddy Ralph, and we went.
Ralphie.
Ralph Guerin.
Ralph.
I probably shouldn't say
Ralph.
that.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah,
Ralph.
anyways, Ralph's mad at me.
That's all right.
That's a whole nother story.
Sorry, Ralph.
But anyways, it was an awesome time. We had, good-looking girlfriends. We went, Guns N' Roses open, and when they first opened with Welcome to the Jungle, everybody loved them. And then they played Mr. Brownstone. Yeah. And nobody was ready for that. It was just too weird for people.
I love
and so they were kind of silent. They weren't really into it. And I remember Axl Rose just going, well, if you don't like it, and he was kind of flipping off the crowd.
Yeah.
But then they went on, and by the time we got to Paradise City, people were going crazy. Yeah. So that was that. And then the Motley Crue thing, Motley Crue came on, and they were awesome. So.
And the drum did what?
The drum cage spun while Tommy Lee played his solo. It was good times.
So we, as a band, the three of us went to see Foo Fighters. We went to see Extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And in the course of those two concerts, Roger told us, 20 times about going to see Twisted Sister and Guns N' Roses together.
Who's Twisted Sister? Where are you getting Twisted
Or
Sister?
Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. But
Yeah.
we would, and it was amazing how familiar we are with that description of that concert.
Well,
from
we
you.
grew up around the same time.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't necessarily listen to the same music the whole time.
You had first run stuff. I was out in you were in Southern California. But anyway, so on the website, and I'll pull that up when we're done here, there's a description you gave to Max when he wrote the interview that said you got your first drum kit.
Yeah. I was 12 years old, and it was a used kit from my neighbor down the street who played in a band, and I thought they were the coolest band ever because it was live music.
So
and
what
it was
city are we in
loud.
now?
This is Santa Ana, California,
Okay.
back when I'm about 12 years old, so 1973, 74, somewhere in there.
So you moved from Illinois to California, didn't go to San
Yeah.
Diego, you went to Santa Ana.
Correct. We lived first we went to Cypress where my uncle and his family lived, which is close to it's just Orange County. It's just Orange County. And then we went to Santa Ana. We ended up in Fountain Valley later. But anyways, growing up in Santa Ana, I went to school there, elementary school. And I remember the drummer's name was Terry. And I thought he was just like a drum god. Now I think back, he's just a regular guy. But, and he had his first drum kit that he was selling. So I took my mom into, buying the drum kit, and she said she was going to make payments on it or something. I don't know if that was true or not. I mean, how much could they possibly be? But and they were a crap set of drums. They had terrible sound and everything. But fast forward, I'm in my garage practicing, and my mom is super proud of me and telling all her friends I can play Rock and Roll All Night, the intro to that Kiss song. And so at this point, she's like, "Oh my God, he can play Kiss and he can play all these different songs." And then 2 weeks later, I can't make the payments on the drums. They got to go back. And back then I thought, okay, maybe she can't really make the payments. Now I'm like, they were just too loud. She she didn't want to deal with the noise. So anyways, I was so disappointed. I think I cried. I cried because I really wanted to play the drums. And so one day we're walking around in Kmart, and I see this red acoustic guitar, and she's like, "You want to play guitar?" I'm like, "Oh wait, yeah, Kiss. There's guitars. Okay, yeah, I can play a guitar." And so I took that, and I didn't know anything. I wasn't taking lessons or anything. Didn't even know how to tune it.
Right.
But I figured out my own tuning pattern, which was basically just a drop D, tuning pattern. I don't know how I figured it out, but I did. And I just started playing stuff. I just started making stuff up, and it was like random stupid stuff. And then I started hanging around a bunch of other kids, and we all started playing guitar, and that was the start of it.
So 12, 13, 14.
Yep, 12. By the time I was 13, I was already playing in a band. And played with a guy by the name of Dave Mitchie. He was super cool.
Davey.
I'd love to connect with him again, but
Dave, if you hear this,
he was the drummer.
Call Roger.
Dave Mitchie.
So now, we're missing about 6 years in the transition. Anything of note from 6 to 12?
Not really. Just regular kid type stuff. Growing up in Orange County and stuff. There was weird family stuff going on, and unfortunately, I felt like I wanted to be closer to my cousins and stuff, but my Uncle Ray and my mom had some disagreements, and my mom could be a little bit tough to deal with sometimes. So I understood why he didn't want her around anymore, but that included cutting off all of us. So that was kind of a drag. That always bummed me out.
And so the band, when you had that drum kit in the garage and you're trying to play Kiss in it, how did you play along? Did you bring the stereo out in the garage? Because you remember all the jerry-rigged things we would have to do?
Oh, yeah. I used to do jury rigs where I'd have two different cassette tape recorders, and I'd record the rhythm, and then I'd record the lead. And so I was making my own little recordings back then. And but the drums, I didn't have anything that was loud enough to play along with back then, and there was no Bluetooth or headphones like this or anything.
The 100-watt boombox didn't exist yet.
No, that was until the 80s or something, and this was still in the early 70s. So I just remembered it, but I'd listen to it, and later I'd go play it, and I just had the ability to do that.
Do you remember the turntable? Click, click. You play it.
I did that all the time with the guitar. Later with the guitar, it was a lot easier. I could do a lot more stuff that I wanted to do, playing along with stuff. And then here.
Yeah, so interesting. So the movements are required moves. You leave the Midwest. You get in California, bounce a little bit. Grandparents are suitable alternatives, but you move in with them from time to time.
No, I pretty much lived with my grandparents from the time I was like 13 until I was on my own. I pretty much lived with my grandparents.
Yep. And so, so you wanted to play in rock and roll, and you fantasized about it, and you got in a band. You graduate from high school?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I dropped out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah.
Because I got a job afterwards. So I'm thinking, oh, cool.
16?
17. No,
Right.
yeah, 16.
Right.
16.
Right.
And I got my first real job because I'd had jobs before. I'd worked in like H-Salt Fish and Chips when I was 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
So I was as soon as I was able to work, I wanted to work.
Where was that?
Santa Ana. That
Fish
was
and Chips.
over off, I think it was Edinger or McFadden and Harbor. And it was a shopping center. There was a Thrifty there. And and there was an H-Salt Fish and Chips a couple of doors down from Thrifty Drugs. It's a California chain. I don't think it was over where you were.
A car.
You know, just think of CVS, Walgreens.
Yeah.
And anyways, I worked there for quite a while and met a couple of cute girls while I was there. I mean, I was a kid and I was having my fun. So anyways, well, H-Salt Fish and Chips, that was a weird job because you knew you worked there and you knew people worked there from all the burns when they were putting the stupid fried, the fish batter and stuff into that hot vat of oil and it would splash and
Burning.
you just have all these burns all over your arms.
Awesome.
That was like my first job, but my other job, what was I talking about? The other, so after I dropped out of high school, I went and worked at a fiberglass factory.
Oh, Christ.
Because my buddy Lee, he was like one of my best friends in high school growing up. And so Lee worked at this place. I forget the name, but anyways, they did like these tent poles and different things made out of fiberglass. Yeah. And that job sucked so bad. It was horrible.
Yeah. I don't even know how you make fiberglass. No.
I couldn't tell you how they do it. They do it. All I know is I was doing the cutting and the sawing, and fiberglass is really weird to work with because it gets into your skin and it itches and sometimes it hurts. And there's nothing you can do. You just have to get used to it. And so I did that for maybe 4 or 6 months. I didn't do it for long. And I said, to hell with this. This is what my life is going to look like? No way. So I went back and I got my GED. And then I went to college and started doing some different things.
So where'd you go to college?
Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, California.
Costa Mesa, right. I remember you being in Costa Mesa. And then what'd you study there? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was studying to be an X-ray tech, radiological, what do they call it? Radiologic technician or technologist, one of those things. And, but the way things were set up back then, you weren't really able to work a job and make a living while you're going to school.
Yeah, of course.
And so that was the gateway to me joining the military because I said, okay, well, financially, my family doesn't have the kind of money to put me through school without working. I need to work. So what can I do? Well, join the Army. So because I had another job. I was an exterminator for a while, if you can believe that. That was probably the worst job I ever had. Being an exterminator sucks. If you have a nice house and your exterminator comes, treat him nice. Give him a bottle of wine once in a while or something.
Yeah.
It was an awful job.
Or a towel to wipe their face off.
Totally. So anyways, so that was a terrible time. And so that's when I realized, okay, well, I've got to come up with money to go to school because without having a degree, this is my life. Yeah. And I was not going to be happy with that.
So help me understand how you understood the military could do something for you. Who taught you that? Who told you that? What?
They advertised heavily.
Okay, so
it was mostly the Army.
A third-party source hooked you.
Sort of, yeah. But they were giving away a ton of money. They really made it where if you were not from a family that, had a lot of resources, then you join the military, you honor your part of the commitment, and I think I had to put in $100 a month. I made 900, so, give them 100 of that. And then out of that, I did that for 12 months, I think, or 24 months. I don't remember. But then they give you like $17,000 or $18,000 for college, which was enough back then.
Right.
So when I got out in 88, and by 90 or 91, I was going to school. And it was like a government check that came, every month. And it totally made it easier. I was working part-time at Wells Fargo or something as a bank teller.
Yeah.
So it made it much easier to get through school and finish my degree that way.
And did you continue to have military or health care?
No, I was on my own completely. I didn't learn that I was eligible for military health care or for the VA disability until 2 years ago. I had no idea that stuff. I mean, literally, I came home in 2019.
I'm sorry for
and in I know it's bizarre.
That's so ridiculous.
But no, okay, well, there's a story to that.
Okay, I'm sure. I'm sure you worked somewhere
everything.
and they put you on a health plan and you just said, I'm working on this other thing.
No, I was paying the big bucks for the health plan. Like when I was working this is getting, we're forwarding quickly. But when I was working in oil and gas, I was paying for Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever the monthly cost was. Right. And I had gone to Big Spring, Texas, to the VA there. For anybody who's not from the United States, the VA is the Veterans Administration. So anybody who's been in the military, they work with the VA after they're out. So I went to the VA there, and I brought all my paperwork and everything, and I said, am I eligible for health care? And they said, you got out 2 days before the full 2 years, so no, you're not eligible. And I said, what? So, so that was 2013. Fast forward to 2020. Now it's February 2020. I go to the VA in Fort Worth, Texas, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're in here. You're all set." What do you mean I'm set? Yeah, you're covered. I'm like, "So do I still need to go buy health insurance?" They're like, "Let me put it to you this way. The VA's got you covered." Well, okay then. Wish you guys would have told me that like 15 years ago.
What changed?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could speculate, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
And then it was 2021. I got a friend of mine who was my crew chief when I was in oil and gas. His name is Richard Carpenter. Super good guy. He's like one of my best friends. He's like 6'6", and we would hang out because we were working together for a long time, and we'd be hanging out, and it's like Mutt and Jeff. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, he called me one time, and he's like, "Well, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing anything right now. There's no work." And he's like, "Well, have you looked at this VA disability stuff?" And I said, "What's that?" And so he said, "Get your medical records, get all your service records." So anyway, I got all of that, and I've been working on that stuff ever since.
Yeah.
But they will take care of you if you're eligible. And I did a lot of legit stuff that happened when I was in the military.
And so where did you do your military training?
Well, the basic training and what they call AIT at the time, which was Advanced Individual Training, that was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
So you hit the road again.
Oh, yeah. But that was the first time I was ever on an airplane. I'd never been on an airplane before that.
So you're now 18, 19?
22.
22. So you
22.
did a couple
I tried
years.
to hold out.
Yeah. Huh. And so do you remember the recruitment office where you went to sign up?
Yeah. Actually, the recruiter was really a cool guy. Couldn't tell you his name. But I remember that he was a very cool guy. He was in shape, very easy to work with, answered all my questions and stuff, and walked me through everything, held my hand the whole way through. He was a good recruiter.
Did he wave goodbye at the airport?
Not quite.
Huh.
My mom did. So anyways, the military was, boy, talk about shock and awe.
Yeah.
That was something else. The first few days was just kind of getting used to things in Missouri, and I went in March, and it was still freezing cold in Missouri because we were just outside St. Louis a couple hours. But yeah, when basic training started, there were some interesting experiences. I'll put it that way, without going into all of that. But a lot of really interesting stuff.
So you make it through that basic training, and then you're on active duty. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Well, when you're in basic training, you're on active duty, and basically then you get your advanced training, your advanced individual or AIT training, and then after that you go to wherever you're going to be stationed. And here I am thinking, I'm going to be driving, a truck or something in Germany, or they're going to send me to South Korea or something. No, they sent me to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Well, you're not in a war zone though, right?
Yeah, but it was Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Well,
have you been to Georgia?
Yeah, I have.
Sorry, no offense to people from Georgia.
Like it could have been Augusta, but so you could have gone anywhere.
Could have gone anywhere, yeah.
Right. And the goal was, I thought we'd said earlier, to get help schooling.
That was the whole idea. I mean, and of course there was something exciting about, hey, I'm going to go serve my country. I didn't realize what I was getting myself into there, but I don't think anybody really does. So, but you know, I think the shooting and the gun ranges and stuff, that was my favorite part. The hand grenades. I got gypped. In basic training, we got one chance to throw a live grenade. And mine did not go off.
You had a dud.
Me and the drill sergeant's covering me, and we're low crawling out of there. And I'm like, damn, can we do it again? No, we don't. We can't do it again. Oh, you got to be. He's like, don't worry, you got your badge. I'm like, I don't care about the badge. I want to throw the grenade.
What was the badge? Grenade throwing?
Yeah, you get a thing. Hi, I know how to throw a grenade now.
Frank, do you got one of those? All right.
So anyways, yeah.
So Roger's got a grenade throwing badge.
But I got to shoot a lot of ammo out of those M16s. So I like shooting. So that was fun.
Yeah. So were you at this point? Let me see. So are you, because of your military experience and surroundings, are you becoming, what are you becoming are you moving away from Van Halen and becoming a conservative young man, or
No, the opposite.
All right, so you're still listening to heavy metal.
One of the great things about being in the Army where I was is that they had practice rooms with all the amps and everything set up. There was a drum kit, and they had like 3 practice rooms. You just show up and go in and start playing. So I was jamming with everybody, and I didn't play drums back then. All I played was guitar. But we just had the greatest time ever. And it was really great because, you know, I'm not great on the guitar, but I can play. And there would be guys that would just be like, oh, dude, you rock so much. I'm
nice.
Like, oh, okay, thanks. I got my own little groupie.
So this is in Georgia?
Yeah, this is in Fort Stewart, Georgia, yeah.
When you say Fort Stewart, is that like 1 million people? Or is it 1,000? Or is it 10,000?
Probably 10,000.
Big planes, it's landing, taking off.
It's
tanks.
big. It's a big, huge infantry. Oh God, they've got various bases, or they call them posts in the Army. So they have various posts. They've got main forts, or the main post, and then they've got the Army Air Base up in Savannah, Georgia, and they've got something else. Fort Benning, that is where the airborne guys are. So.
And this was just a big community.
Oh yeah, huge.
And so did you see a lifetime of this for you, or your short time?
No, I thought about it because I was like, boy, the idea of a pension and retirement and everything, that appealed to me. But I'm like, I don't want 18 more years of this, or 20 or whatever it was going to be, 20, 25 years. Mm-hmm. So after my initial enlistment, that was it. I said adios.
And was there hard feelings with you in the U.S. government when you said adios, or was that just an
Not
assembly line to depart?
Yeah, more or less an assembly line.
Yeah. And were you ever at risk, or if you use a better word, like were you ever about to deploy somewhere that was seeing activity?
There were moments. Yeah. There were some moments, and I spent time in the Middle East.
And
all
so
preparation, training, practice stuff.
And so did you start to think, because Tom Crowley sat in that chair about a month ago, and he signed to deploy. You know, he was hoping to make it to the Vietnam situation.
Okay.
And his story is very binary. You know, is he going to get to the spot he wants to get to is sort of the only question. But as you progressively read his bio and listen to him, he almost created his own fate. Or maybe that's the wrong word. He almost created his own future. I never sensed that from you, but it seemed like you were on the slippery slope of going to like, wait a minute.
A lot of stuff was going on then.
Right.
And so I remember in basic training, I don't remember where it was. I just have this distant memory of it where the drill sergeant came out and said, gentlemen, this country just shot down some planes over this country. Be prepared. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm in the right place at the right time, or not. I don't know. So, but I didn't worry about it. I mean,
so you had your advanced what training?
And they called it then advanced individual training.
And what were you all about? So you weren't the hand grenade thrower. We know that because he threw one dead.
And hindsight's 20/20. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would have gone into the X-ray tech program in the Navy.
Right.
But
okay.
I thought I knew what I was doing. I'm going to drive a truck all over Germany. So I did this motor transport.
So that's like a class?
It's you're basically trained to drive all the different vehicles in the Army, from the tiny little Jeeps up to their largest vehicles. At the time they had, what they call deuce and halves, or 2.5 ton trucks. Then they had 5 ton trucks. And then they had these things called Hemmets. Those things were just enormous.
Did they have the thing with the big tires on it?
Yep, that's it. That's it. Oh, I'm surprised you knew that.
Well,
That's
I think
good.
we maybe talked about helmets once.
Okay.
On some
Yeah.
road trip somewhere.
Yeah,
Just like,
and I was.
hey, did you ever see a helmet? Like, what the hell's a
Yeah,
helmet?
and
Raj?
I was driving one, one time, and it just, yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah. All right. I'm not making fun of this. I'm trying to figure out. So you have a pamphlet or something at some point. And you're like, I could probably do the truck thing, right? Like.
No, it wasn't really quite like that.
DeNoon, you're a truck driver.
Something like it was more like, I mean, the thing that bugs me, and if I really wish I could go back and do it over, is I could have done something much more professional.
Right.
And I had the scores for it, and I mean, I was high enough on the totem pole with the scores, I could have basically done what I wanted.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I chose that, and I'm not, I don't even remember why I chose it.
Yeah, I mean, look, well, we've talked about sort of your influences and your decision-making criterion, and it was head above water, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Right? So,
More or less.
like, why you thinking like I want to be a thoracic surgeon?
Well,
It's like,
but I sure didn't want to be a grunt either. I didn't want to be, a ground pounder like the infantry guys out there. That's tough.
But
that's
you didn't
really
know.
tough.
You didn't, I mean, you signed
Well,
up.
I ended up still having to do that stuff.
Right.
I thought, okay, I'll be transporting troops. No, I'm on the ground too. And I'm like, oh crap, I didn't think this through. And I'm little. And that's the big problem. Is like everything that they issue you is for a regular size guy.
Oh.
And so, my rucks or what was it? A duffel bag. But it was this big, long green duffel bag, and you put all your stuff in before you deploy. And I swear to God, it was almost as big as I was. I'm just like, how do they let me in the military? What is going on here?
DeNoon, pick your back
And
up.
when we'd run, we'd march, I had trouble. It sucked.
DeNoon, keep up.
Pretty much. But
Come on,
and I was
Sarge.
able to, but anyway, so that was the rough part of it.
Gump, you're a genius.
But I got to tell you, yeah, kind of something like that. Yeah, I had guys like that. So, anyways, it was okay. I don't regret it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it. I wish I would have done some things differently, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I've given you the opportunity, or not, I haven't given you anything. We've talked enough now over the years that we've been in the area where you could have certainly griped or bitched about your service, but you never really have. You've said, I wish my feet felt better from jogging in leather boots for a year. But
it tore me up.
right, but you've never said horrendous decision. I should have never done it, and if I had the chance, yeah. So
I'd do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I really would. There's positive and negatives in everything. But at the end of the day, and especially in the United States, oh my God, they find out you're a veteran and you're treated with so much more respect. And everywhere you go, believe it or not, you get discounts. Show your VA card.
Right.
Oh, 10% off at Home Depot. It's amazing. It's nice.
Know that. So how about when we had tacos in Austin last month?
Oh, wasn't that a great time?
We didn't ask for the VA discount though.
I didn't even think about it.
It's like
I think those
100 shots of
margaritas,
tequila.
those margaritas took us over. Those were some good margaritas.
Yeah, they were. So but I still sort of consider you a Texan. So you're in Georgia, and
Pretty
you
much am
2
now.
days early now. We know that you
Actually, they did what they call a drop. They were getting me out 2 or 3 days early. It was actually, I think it was 5 days early, something like that.
what the hell?
But I still fulfilled the enlistment, and so that was the thing. The lady who told me that had her head up her, what.
Right. Okay.
So, in the end, I still got it. I had to wait a little while. That's life.
Okay.
It's the government.
So you okay, Wild Blue Yonder now, right? You got cash for school, and you got a discipline, and you know how to drive, and you think, all right, I got something I can do now.
Well, I mean, that's when I got out. I started driving an actual truck, which wasn't very much fun. I mean, it was okay, but wasn't something I wanted to do for any extended period of time. And so I started thinking, okay, what am I going to study when I go to school? And I'm looking at, I'll get a business degree, this or that. And I'm like, all these generic things. Well, the Border Patrol was hiring, so I went and applied to the Border Patrol and went down to San Ysidro and passed all their tests, went through the interview, which
San Ysidro's in California?
Yeah, that's South San Diego, right on the border with Tijuana. And so I interviewed with them, and they had this really interesting panel of 3 officers that interviewed me, and they were putting me under all this pressure and stuff to see how I'd react, and I did fine. So at the end, the toughest guy came out and he put his arm around me and he said, "All right, man, you're in. You're on the hiring list." I said, "Okay, great." And then they went on a hiring freeze. And that was it. So I was like, well,
Shucks.
fantastic. So now what am I going to do? Okay. But I remember during that interview process, they said, "You're going to do great, but bone up on Spanish." Because at the time I was in really good shape. And they said, "You're already in shape, so you're not going to have a problem with the physical part, but learn as much Spanish as you can." So I started learning Spanish on my own.
That was it. That was
it.
Huh?
And I started realizing there's all these beautiful Mexican women where I live, and I can't talk to them, but I want to.
There you go.
So that was that.
So a lot of this is motivated by the ability to meet nice people.
Imagine that.
All right. So, okay. So you're now on the waiting list, the hiring freeze, the world is...
Yeah, but I'm still driving a truck, and at some point, I finally started taking Spanish classes at the community college. And that was going well for me. I was picking it up really easily, and I just seemed to do well with it. I seemed to get it. So I just kept going. And then I ended up doing a year of study abroad in Mexico City during my junior year of college. And
why the hell would you do that?
To become fluent. Because being in America speaking English every day and you're trying to learn a new language, you're never going to become completely fluent. You need to go where that's all you're speaking.
But that's such like a highfalutin concept, like the year abroad, right? You know what I mean? Like,
it was great. It was one of the best years of my life.
I'm sure. But like, how do you come up with that when everything about it was like, I'm getting support now from the government to do this, so I don't have to work at the same time. So I guess some of the pressure was off.
I was getting no. Well, okay.
Yeah, right. Here's what I need to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was no support.
Right.
The money for college was basically only arriving in small amounts.
Right.
We're talking $400 or $500 a month at the time, which I guess was probably $700 or $800 today.
Right.
But only when you were in school, you had to register for it. You had to get clearance and all of this stuff. They weren't just sending me checks.
Yeah, okay.
I wish that was the case.
Okay.
So,
but they did the year abroad or the whatever that was?
Yeah. Well, by then I was out of money. I had to take student loans out for it.
Oh, yeah.
So that was okay. I mean, I paid them off. It took a long time, took longer than I wanted it to. But being in Mexico City, having to speak Spanish every single day, sometimes wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there were challenges. It was tough sometimes, but I got fluent. And then I got to the point to where I could just talk to just about anybody. And by the time I came back home, I was way ahead of everybody else in my class.
Interesting. So you were still matriculating when you're in was it junior year abroad effectively or third year?
Yeah.
And so you knew you came back with a runway that was pretty short, 1 year of schooling left.
Yep.
Okay. And so all in all, the grand bargain worked out. You made it through the military, you got out on time or 2 days short or whatever. You pick up this thing, Spanish, which is easily learned, which makes some sense because of your guitar playing as well. These solos you seem to remember from 100 years ago. So there's obviously some thing in your head that says some things are easier than others to remember.
Right.
Right?
I guess.
Yeah, but I'll talk about this in a minute too, because I want to talk about one of the songs we wrote together. Okay, and so what's next? You're now graduate, and you can
started working in international sales. Started traveling all over Latin America, Mexico. Got to go to Chile, Brazil.
Right, so those are paid gigs, right? Here's DeNoon ticket.
And I was keeping the miles, so I was upgrading to first class all the time, every chance I got, and but I was going everywhere. I mean, I was on the road constantly. But the irony is, I was married, and I was on the road constantly. When I'm single, then I'm at home all the time.
Right.
So if it worked out the opposite, that would have been fantastic because traveling was great.
Right. So not the greatest thing in the world for your marriage if you're hitting the road every weekend. But
not so much.
With that said, it was probably still thrilling, and the business travel is.
Yeah. I mean, you're meeting people from all over the place, and you're getting to learn new cultures and stuff. Chile was fascinating. Santiago was really a cool place. I enjoyed Santiago a lot.
I just watched a movie with a scene or two out of Santiago, and there seems to be some pretty cool stuff there from my recollection as well. But so then you living in Mexico?
No, I was constantly in Mexico, but we had bought a house in Fort Worth.
So we and your wife.
Yeah,
and
by this
you-
time I'm married.
And she is
A woman.
from Texas.
No, she's from Mexico
Yeah,
City.
yeah,
I
okay,
actually
so-
met her down
so-
in Mexico.
Right. So you met her at some point and got married during this jobs sprint you were on.
It was probably before, it was right in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was working for a big car alarm company at the time.
Okay.
So, but I was able to kind of take off and do my own thing. They were pretty lenient.
Okay. I've never asked, and I met her through video once or twice. I don't think I've met her.
I don't know.
Yeah, because we were in Texas at the same time. So the
Oh no, yeah, in Austin she wasn't there.
right. Were you roughly the same age when you married?
What was I? 31.
Yeah.
I was 31 when I got married. She was 22.
Okay, that's a little younger.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then you have the good life. You're building the miles up. You're paying off the student loan somehow, and you're playing music.
No, wasn't playing. Oh, I was playing. I had a spare bedroom that I had
Yeah,
the office set up, and I had a guitar and an amp.
What were you playing back then?
Metallica.
Yeah, and
Lots of
what type of
Metallica.
guitar?
I think I had a blue Ibanez.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was
That's-
a cool. Yeah, it's very similar to
heavy is
can't even see
heavy,
it now.
right?
Well,
A
I
heavy.
had the distortion and stuff.
I mean, it was a heavy guitar, right?
Somewhat, not
Yeah.
like a Les Paul though.
Okay.
Yeah, but it had some weight to it. It was a good guitar,
And so, do you remember buying that guitar?
vaguely.
Do you
I
remember?
bought and sold so many guitars. I mean,
Were these extravagant expenditures? Did you go over your
No,
budget? Because
I didn't start spending big money on instruments until after I was working in oil and gas.
Yeah.
Because then I was making a lot more at the time, so I had more income to spend.
If you had an outstanding trait that I would have to say is a positive trait that you demonstrate, you are always aware of your finances.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. You are never not aware of even what's in your pocket. Like, you are just aware. Like,
well, I mean, I grew up in a poor family.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the kids playing in the fire hydrant water in the summertime.
right.
So, I know what it's like to not have anything.
Right.
And and I realized that taking care of finances is the difference between being free or being a slave. So, yeah, I'm very careful with that stuff. That's why, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about there. But
and we have over time, but it's always, and it's not in your face, and it's not, I paid 50 baht more than you. And that, you might bring, I don't know if you ever did,
nah,
but
not so much. I don't
but
really care
but
about
you
that
are
kind of
always
thing.
very forward looking on that, and you'll always, I know you keep a lot of your comments back, but I know you'll often comment on, the sort of overall dynamics of the world and
Yeah.
just the market and sort of
Yeah.
where you sit in relation to it, and you sort of, I'm trying this or that. But so it's just interesting to sort of look back and see that. And I'm waiting to hear, well, there was that one time I spent $4,000 on a, 67 Les Paul, and I had stolen out of the back of my car.
Hindsight's 2020. After I came here, because I won't fly back and forth to Asia anymore, economy class. To me, it's cattle class. I won't do it.
There you
So
go.
I'll spend the money. And then I was like, I got here and I'm like, man, with that money that I bought that plane ticket with, I could have put a new floor in my place. I could have bought a new Strat and an amp. And I'm like, forget it. Life experience is more important.
Yeah.
Stuff comes and goes.
Yeah. Well, you're able to buy it too.
Yeah.
Right, because you haven't denied yourself previous acquisitions, but you've been managed well.
I've been careful, but also, I mean, no wife, no kids,
Yeah.
no responsibilities, no debt, and I worked toward that purposefully. Especially like in my 30s and 40s, make sure everything's paid off. The student loans, I remember the last payment I made was for over $3,000, and I paid them off. And it was the greatest feeling ever. So, for anybody who's in debt, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's such a weird American narrative, that student loan thing, isn't it? Like, it just seems like something went wrong. It seems like the whole credit card thing in America. I guess you and I grew up when those prominent MasterCard symbols in American Express were outstanding in television and the print press, right?
I remember being like 21 and getting a Sears credit card because you had to establish your credit.
Establish your credit.
You had to have established credit to get a credit score to be a real person.
Right.
And if you don't have a credit score, then you're poor and you're
Sears
homeless.
credit card. Why the hell do you need a credit card?
It was the only one that they would give me.
Of course.
I couldn't get a real
I
credit
think I
card
had a
back
Woolworth
then.
one because I was in the Midwest or something.
Yeah, so that's very American. It's all about the credit score. What's your credit score? Oh, it's 871. Oh, really? Oh, well, would you like a new, come on, let's buy a Tesla. It's
Right.
like, no, I don't want to buy anything. Get out of here. There's a reason that I have a good credit score. It's because I don't spend too much money.
Just funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking back at that period of time, how I think all this hoodwinking that I see on the internet is new, but it was like, we just had it in a different medium that it came at us. But I remember how like sexy they tried to make MasterCard. Like what type of idiots do they think we are? And we were.
Right.
We fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
Well, we kind of didn't have a choice. I mean, if you wanted to get established financially, you had to play the game.
I wonder if, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. Yeah.
it is what it is.
So there it is. So
Yeah.
So you're on the road. You're doing your thing. You're saving dough. You triumphant moment, paying off that ridiculous debt that you racked up. But it gets you the land job. You can move around Texas. Now you're in Texas. You're back in Texas.
I sold real estate for about 5 years.
Yeah.
There were ups and downs in that. I enjoyed the people I met. Made some really great friends in the industry. Didn't enjoy being a realtor very much.
Yeah.
It was too much hand holding. People would bail out and you'd lose money at the last minute and there was no compensation. So it was all, you're working ahead of the commission.
Yeah.
And if something goes wrong, then you've wasted your time and you've lost money. So when I got into oil and gas, that was really a big stroke of luck for me.
And so so Texas, so are you, how do you end up in Texas and forsaking California?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Got a job with Sears while I was still in California, and it was a Sears management training program.
Yes.
Sears was still in business back then.
Yeah.
This is 1995, 96, I think it's 95. And anyways, I had just gotten married. We were renting this townhouse that we couldn't afford to rent. I didn't have a job. And Sears hired me for that. And they said, you've got two choices. You can go to Dallas, Texas or Fort Worth, Texas, or you can go to L.A. I'm like, screw L.A. I'm going to Texas. Because L.A., just not for me. Anyways, so we came to Texas.
Tacos, sun, surf,
No.
Van Halen.
That aspect of L.A. is wonderful. But, look, if you're making, I don't know,
so you
pick
said
a number in L.A. versus Texas, you're going to be able to buy a house in Texas. In L.A., you're going to be renting a room at your friend's family.
Fiscally prudent decision making yet again.
Yet again, that's me.
So had you been to Texas at this point?
Never.
So you just said, I'll go.
Gonna do it.
Was it the military dude in you? Was it
It was,
frugal dude in you? Was it?
It just made the most sense. Yeah.
And the wife said, "Yeah, let's do it."
She was really, she put up with a lot. I don't know why she stayed with me as long as she did.
Okay, fair enough. So
no,
good
we went there together. We made the move, and Sears, of course, made it very easy. They moved our cars. They moved all our stuff. It was a full-on executive type move. So it was really nice.
Cool.
And then I got there and I did it. I don't know how long I did it for, but it was never a fit.
Yeah.
It was, being a retail manager was never for me. But made some nice friends, like usual, and made a lot of nice friends. And then from there I got into international sales. Started working at a ceiling fan company and was selling ceiling fans to retailers all throughout Mexico. And then from there went with another big company, clothing distributor, and was all over Latin America. So that was that. So I did that all for several years and then moved on to some other stuff and, finally real estate, oil and gas, all that stuff there. I was a headhunter for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's stuff that, what can you do with a bachelor's degree? Let's find out.
A lot, apparently.
Yeah. Well, and being bilingual made a big difference.
That's such a funny...
Oh, and they'd have the people who are fluent test me to see how bilingual I was.
Yeah.
So I was always very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that opened doors. That really opened a lot of doors.
That's so random too, how it's sort of, you just backed into that one, right? That wasn't like the big calling you heard, but you did it, and it just has worked out for so long.
Yeah.
Well, good. So you do the oil and gas stuff, landman. You're looking up records to make sure the transactions that companies want to do allow them to exploit resources and move
it's boring.
pipelines. Or,
it's super boring to explain. So I just like, it was a good job. It was nice while it lasted.
Yeah. And so are you playing the whole while through all these jobs? You got guitars around and stuff?
Oh, always. I don't think there was a time in my life, with the exception of the COVID period, where I wasn't playing all the time. I'm always playing. And then even during COVID, during that first year with the lockdown and everything was all wild and crazy, that year depression hit me. So I didn't really play. I didn't do much of anything. But apart from that, you can't keep me away from this stuff. I'm always going to play.
So you get here after moving around a little bit. You get to Thailand in 2015, but you had an earlier stop here.
Well, I mean, what led me to Thailand was China. Because I was teaching English in China in a place called Lanzhou, China. And,
which you just posted on your Instagram, Lanzhou noodles in Pattaya.
Oh, it was awesome. That was the greatest surprise ever.
Those are the stretchy ones?
Yeah, and they were legit. They were legit.
Yeah.
I mean, they were absolutely, they tasted exactly the same as the noodles in Lanzhou. So, and China, I mean, I guess they're world famous, or at least they're China famous. So
I'm trying to think if my Szechuan guy in Chengdu and in Namba Town who stretched noodles was making those same type of noodles, but the people on the staff that I worked with who were there swore by these so vehemently it was almost religious.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're the same.
There's a place where I eat Taiwanese noodles over near where I live.
In Bangkok here.
In Bangkok. It's a place called Smile Restaurant in Sutisan. So if you're in Bangkok, go check it out.
Smile Restaurant in Sutisan, says Roger DeNoon, gives a 5-star rating on Food. Food Spectator.
Yeah,
app.
They've got a lot of all of the same stuff. But anyways, but no, these Lanzhou noodles were fantastic. So anyways, back to China. So I did that for a while. Worked at a couple of different universities over a 2-year period. It was a pretty good experience. There's always negatives, no matter where you go. So, but I had a good time, and I miss China. I really miss some of the friends I made there, and I really miss the food. And it's sad because they won't be able to see this video unless we post it on a Chinese site somewhere.
Oh, I'm going to say...
Yeah.
All right, yes.
So anyways, and then I decided to check out China because Thailand rather, because one of the guys that I played music with over there, because I was definitely playing a lot of music in China, and I met a guy by the name of Garfield who was, he was a pro musician, and he was like, dude.
First name or last name?
Garfield, just first name. Couldn't tell you his last name.
Like the cat.
Yeah, but this dude was talented.
Okay.
This dude was pure talent.
Just saying.
Yeah, So anyways, he was like, you got to go to Thailand. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll check it out.
So you're playing to large venues in Taiwan and China at this point. There's some footage of you playing to thousands and thousands of people. Drums, I think.
No, I was playing guitar.
Oh, right.
That was I was playing at a university there. And I remember I had a BlackBerry, if that tells you the time period. It's like 2011, I think. And I took a picture of the crowd, and it just came out cool because it was like all these Chinese kids. And
that's massive.
It was fantastic.
Well, that's fun. So that was good stuff. So you're playing heavy metal?
Yeah.
Metal, yeah.
Just a lot of the classic rock type stuff, Guns N' Roses, Zeppelin, whatever. So they don't necessarily like that stuff, but they like what was foreign. They wanted to hear foreigners singing foreign music.
Rocking.
That was a big deal. Yeah.
Was it headbanging or were they out there?
Not quite.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they knew what that was.
Yeah, they're just into it though.
Yeah, they just scream and yell a lot.
Shirts
like
off.
You're a rock star, and and they just but you're a foreigner. You're a rock star where I was.
There you go.
And that now you go back today, they won't even look at you twice. They don't even want to talk to you. But when I was there were very few foreigners, so they'd look at you like, "Whoa, you really exist," you know.
Oh yeah, it's a new day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Got a president for life. Well, things are going well there, so God bless him. So then you say, all right, I'll check it out, Garfield, and you come and you check it out, and you like the first things you see.
I went to Chiang Mai first, and I got a teaching certificate, which is it's like a 30-day thing that you do, and it was fine. It was just something. Thailand's a little more strict about who can teach in the schools. In the end, it still comes down to what's your passport.
Yeah.
But fine. But at least this kind of helped you to have a better understanding of how to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I was never good at it. So honestly,
Okay.
you know, I look back on China and I'm like, I wasn't a teacher. I was teaching them cultural lessons, but I
yeah.
sure wasn't teaching them English. So I'm not a teacher.
They still keep in touch with you, those kids, though.
Some of them.
Or
Some
adults
of them.
now.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, but then I spent time in Chiang Mai, loved it. And then I came back, and this was around 2012 now.
Yeah.
And then I came to Bangkok. I was waiting to go back to Lanzhou to teach for one more semester. And that's when I met Bill, our mutual friend Bill.
Right. I was going to look up what podcast number he was, but I didn't grab the sheet. Yeah, okay. Okay, so then you're starting to set up base camp here.
More or less.
In your
I was
head?
falling in love with the place.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even realize it at the time. I was like, you know, I can't understand what people are saying, and I don't know what food to order, but there's something nice about this place. And so anyways, you know, that was 2012. And then I took a job in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Thailand. And I didn't stay with that one
I
very
forgot.
long.
Yeah, where was that? Karat?
Uttaradit.
Oh, Uttaradit, right.
Yeah, Uttaradit.
Yeah.
What's it by? There's another town that people know more. But anyways, middle of nowhere. And man, and I'm like, wait, this is nothing like Bangkok. I need to go back
Is
to
that
Bangkok.
up by Sukhothai?
It's more northwest.
Isan.
Not Isan. It's northwest of Isan. Pitsanulok is the
Pitsanulok,
other
right.
big town over there.
Okay.
So,
That's by Sukhothai.
anyways, I came back to Bangkok and then went back to China. And then when I went home, all I could think about was, I got to get back to Bangkok. So I worked in oil and gas for a couple of years. And then I came back over and I ended up staying 5 years.
Yeah, so I was on a retirement status. And then we started playing in 2015. So we met through Bill, the golf pro, Pro Bill. And we started talking about Roman Anton concepts. And you said, not really interested in the vagaries of what you're talking about, but the music part for sure. Right?
I wasn't even sure what you were talking
Right.
about, but I'm like, if you need a drummer, I'm in.
See, like, what do you want to paint stuff? What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. This other stuff, we can see what happens, but I'll play drums for you.
Right.
I'm happy to do that.
And so 2015, how did you find Queen Bee? Because we're going to go there shortly to talk about it, but you
that was just a discovery. I was looking for open mic night. I was looking for a place where I could go meet other musicians and play.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess music has always been important to me.
Do you think that Tuesday night was Frank's show night?
Well, I don't know if it was Frank's show night, but I know you were actually playing there. Were you soloing or were you playing in a band? Okay.
So you would put your name on the list at the Queen Bee. So Queen Bee is at Sukhumvit Soi 26 in Bangkok. We're huge fans of Queen Bee. As you will soon find out, we had our first gig there together, the three of us, in 2017.
Huh?
Yes, 18, December 18th.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what are we
December
talking about?
18th, December 15th, 2017. Okay. So we have it in the other room. We just saw it. Yeah, so we can't hear Frank. Frank doesn't have the mic up, so I will repeat what he said. But Frank was leading the open mic Tuesday nights. You signed up on the list that put you in proximity to him and his backup group, but you'd sign up for guitar and then you'd migrate to drums.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah, I don't know how long I actually played guitar with these guys, and there were various ones, and they'd come and go. You know, different people would come and go. Typical open mic night. Excuse me. And so, but yeah, we all kind of got to know each other, and you know, played with Paul, guy from Singapore, really talented guy, and played with Frank, and fast forward to when we started playing together, and you're like, we need a bass player, and I'm like, I know a guy, and that was that. So
you came over. I had the music room set up. I had drums ready.
Yeah.
And did you and I just play a couple of times together?
No, let's back up.
Yeah,
because, okay, Bill's, you know, has talked about you before.
Right.
And he was just like, oh, the guy at Chevron, you were in oil and gas. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd like to meet him sometime. And so then I guess you had invited Bill over. There was a party at your place. And Bill said, do you want to go? No. Actually, Bill said, hey, man, I'm going to Joe's house. Have you ever been in a penthouse? He has a penthouse. I'm like,
Stop.
Okay. I've never been in the penthouse, so sure, let's go check it out. And all I remember is walking in to your place the very first time, and I saw this big, beautiful place, gorgeous view, and then I saw the music room.
Right.
And I was just like, what is that?
Yeah, there it is.
Because you got all your guitars and the drum, you had the electric drum kit and stuff, and had all these amps and everything, and that was it. But that night, we all ended up getting together and jamming. There's me, you, there was Paulie, I think Mike was there.
Yeah.
Bunch of us. We all started, playing and just
I
jamming.
think people brought guitars too, which was
And
strange.
one guy brought a ukulele.
Right.
Yeah, there was-
Kaipo, right?
Kaipo, yeah. Kaipo. I remember him.
We did a Sweet Home Alabama that night.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember I was tearing up your wood floor because you didn't have a carpet, and the nails from the bass pedal were digging into the wood and scratching it. And I'm like, oh, geez.
I was hoping you'd ground it.
There was nothing to ground it on.
Just stick it in that mahogany.
Yeah. So anyways, no, but I remember that was a fun night.
Yeah.
And then we just started talking and jamming more and stuff from there. And next thing you know, we're all playing together.
So I had a core of 30 songs written and playable at that point that
Yeah,
I
I
played
remember
with
from
other
Africa.
folks. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the CD.
And so then we sort of learned one or two, Frank, right? 3 or 4 at a time, or 1 or 2, but we
Yeah,
had a
if I go-
learning curve that went very quickly, right?
Well, I remember for me, it was really intimidating because when did I play drums? When I was 12, 13? On occasion, I'd play at a kit, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And you're like, okay, here's this music. And you had this African drummer who was phenomenal. Right. And I'm listening to him, and you're like, okay, let's play these songs. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll give it a shot.
Shout out to Chris Uzezi.
Yeah, that guy was a good drummer. So anyways, yeah, he was tough to follow.
Yeah, and so we made our way through theirs, but then it just exploded, right? We started.
I always felt like I was kind of following along. I mean, I know I wasn't, because I was writing drum riffs for the different stuff for these different songs. But you guys were writing songs every time I saw you. I was like, oh, we wrote another song. Okay, why am I not surprised? It's like always a new song. And so we had so many different songs, and I just remember that there were times when I wouldn't remember exactly how something started. And here you are. Okay, it just starts like this. I'm like, what does that mean? And it was always the same thing. So I just had to, how's the song go again? After a while, it all became second nature. But
All right, so if I were to onomatopoeia or whatever the verb or word is to describe a drum sound, how would you do Nana back to me, the opening?
Nana, see, I don't even remember which song that is.
So I just described it to you before.
Chugga, chugga, chugga. Oh, yeah.
So you do back to me.
If I were to describe that back to you, I'd be like, you're on the toms. You gotta have the accents. You gotta have the note accents. You're just like chicka 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 chicka. What is that?
Mine's a straight line, so I don't give you any help.
Yeah. You gotta
All right.
You gotta know where the accents
All
are.
right, so I'm missing my accents. So I from all points forward from today, I promise to do the accents right.
No, you don't.
No. So then when we all start together, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I found one particular thing very interesting. So you and me and Frank try to we had a Tuesday for some reason. Tuesday was the beginning of our music week, and we would send new songs on Tuesday for practice that evening for some reason, and we'd have it on our phone. So
were we practicing Tuesdays or Wednesdays?
We were practicing Tuesday night to kick off the week because ultimately it focused around playing on the weekends, but we'd do Tuesday. We'd have 3 practices a week at a minimum.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so Tuesday was the first day. So we would send sound bites through Line or voice memos inserted into Line. Yep. And I thought that was the best way to do it, especially if there was a discernible beat to it somehow, right?
Yeah.
And we just did that all the time, right? And then we'd re-record it, and then we'd record it with video. We found it worked out well, and just send, a non-video video, right? So it'd be pointed face down, so there'd be no filming. But the
Right.
sound, we would use the film, and then we'd send those 3 or 5 minute clips to each other.
Yep.
And I had hundreds of those. And
Yeah, I remember.
I ended up throwing all those out or not moving them to another space, but you could clearly see the evolution of a song when you do that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I remember it was so uncanny because when we'd start a new song, it would just sound so terrible.
Right.
I mean, it just sounded awful. and this is actually the first time that I've ever played in a band that played originals.
Yeah.
So for me, originals was completely new. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Wow.
So, but yeah, and it would sound awful at first, and then it would start to get a little better, and then suddenly we're just fine tuning it, and then suddenly, oh, that sounds pretty good,
Yeah.
you know. So, but yeah, it was a lot of rough edges, especially that first year.
Yeah. It really occurred to me, and I don't know if Frank feels this way or if you do, but if you didn't know the words to the song you were asking people to play, and you couldn't shout out the melody the whole way, it never progressed until there was something to anchor it around. So apart from songs like Nambatown, which are musical or non-lyric songs, right? We would dither away playing these things. Like, what's happening now? You know, and I'd make noise and no lyric. But as soon as the melody or the lyric was in there, we started to get through them very, very fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got better at it.
Yeah.
I think we just got better at it. And when we also got better at reading each other and figuring out what each other was going to do.
Yeah.
And just kind of, you know, I don't know. It was like that first year was a little bit difficult, but by the second year, it was just like, okay, here we go. Boom, new song done. What's next?
Yeah. I remember like Milk Toast. Frank brought Milk Toast and Maybe and Fully Baked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those were casseroles. You know, he delivered them to us.
Right.
Sometimes he'd even send them with drum tracks somehow. When you put them out, so there wasn't a lot of speculation what we were doing. He got lazy on lyrics as he started writing more, and sometimes we'd have big gaps, and there'd be humming or something in the background that sounded a little crazy. But that to me was several a week, right? I mean, we were just writing, and some we ended up throwing out just unceremoniously when they were horrible forever. But yeah, so there was a year. That's why I always thought that second year of writing as a group was needed the first year.
I think so. I
Right?
think so. But I was glad to get out and start playing in front of people.
Yeah.
That was when the excitement began. That
Yeah.
was so much more fun. Just and what was the name? That one place, Titanium.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a very cool gig.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Valentine's Day or some craziness.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I remember playing on another band's kit, and I didn't realize I was playing on another band's kit. And I'm like, oh, here I am. I'm invading their space, and I didn't even know it.
Oh, and I had to run out and get a snare drum from down the street from the lady.
Yeah, it was really, that was a weird.
You remember that?
It was weird.
I put a deposit down, and when I came back, I thought she was going to shoot me. Said, You're 10 minutes late. I was like, sorry.
Yeah. and now when I was playing in other bands, though, I remember this is the only place that I've really played, so maybe this happens everywhere. But I just thought it was really weird that we're a rock band and we show up to play, and the manager keeps coming up going, can you guys turn it down? You're a little too loud. And everywhere we play, it's like, you're a little too loud. Can you turn it down? I'm like, we're a rock band. We're going to turn it up.
Oh.
And the bass player at the other band, Kip, would look at me and he'd be like, as soon as she walks away, play it as loud as you can.
Yeah. It's tight spaces we played in those.
Yeah, I know.
It's impossible to hear and eat and have fun when
I
we're
know,
just going
and
mental.
it's just, but don't hire a rock band if you don't want to hear a rock band.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you don't want loud, I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought we did a very good job when we would play quietly, and I think we modified a lot of the songs. And I think when we got into the studio to record, we had versions and different styles of our own songs. And I think that really came out with how we did Beth as a cover song for you because you like Kiss, and we pulled one out of the catalog to do. And then your Margaritaville.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the struggles with the noise and the things that we did or the amount of practice we did writing our own songs, because they would often start out acoustic or quiet, and you'd just be hitting the cymbal. And so the evolution was right in front of us. And if it went heavy, how heavy could a voice memo be that we would send around?
Right. Yeah,
right? So even if you're screaming hysterically, it would still be, well, do I play softly to that? And so we had the whole evolution in front of us. And so I think that I always look back at that as like, well, we watched the whole thing. We could play it in any different version. And I see some music's like, I'll play my hit song samba style. Or you're like, okay, yeah, you can do that because you went through those initial steps when you weren't sure where this was going to go. Sort of like when you handed me your song and I said, should I distort? You said, yeah, louder is the better. And I thought, it's an acoustic song. And you said, play it louder. And I was like, I can't. When we played it faster, you said, play it louder, play it faster. I was like, I can't play what you've given me. I'm not good enough. And you should just play something. I was like, okay. Because you were jamming. At that point, you were jamming hard. You and Frank were doing some very serious duo stuff on acoustic, but also on electric. So it was like, I can't keep up with this, what he's handing me. So I just went to power chords so your song right there. Oh, that's not it. That's you're introducing something else. But the song in the book, which is song 4, I think, on the track, Tell Me What's Going On, started off as an acoustic version that you gave us to listen to. And then by the end of the next week, we had a rock version. And then you put a bridge in that was slightly different, which has an ascending guitar bass track that you sang off tempo on. And it was completely different by the time we're done. And I think and we played that. Frank and I will play that as a duo with 2 acoustic guitars when you're not here, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we have a soft version of that.
Oh, nice.
And so, do you jam on that, Frank? When we do the do 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 do, we have a jam version too. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, and so I think we become fairly adept at the lights going out or the power going out or the mic's not working, and you sort of have to make it up. But I think it's because of that 1.5 to 2 years of composing as a threesome, just sort of putting these things together, starting minimally, not just coming out raging. I don't think we ever did that.
I don't think I don't.
Maybe
know that any
Biggest
band
Deal.
really does
There
that.
was 1 or 2. I think Biggest Deal. Maybe you came out, but Gonzo on your drums, and I thought, okay, there we go. I don't know. Do you have any other memories of like the songwriting process, or year 2 versus year 1, or when we finally started playing out, and sort of when you finally said some of these venues we're playing at make me uncomfortable, I'd rather not do them, because you did hit a wall with us when we started to play in tighter spaces and hot spaces.
Well,
spiders.
I don't really tell people about this very much, but I don't really do bars.
Yeah.
And the reason is I'm claustrophobic as hell. And so, being in tight spaces like that, there's nothing that makes me more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, which
especially
I think
when
most,
it's 100 degrees.
Exactly. and they're asking me to turn it down and play the drums quiet.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Well, that was interesting, right?
Yeah. So, no, but we had a good time. I mean, and I remember, I think our last gig was Jai Tep, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be.
We may have done a couple more sets at Queen Bee or something, but I think Jai Tep was the last big one in 2019.
That was up in Chiang Mai, and as a festival,
and that was a blast.
Yeah,
that was awesome. So but after that, that's when I kind of eased out and started seeing myself doing other stuff and going other places and stuff.
Yeah. Oh boy, I mean, it forced Frank and I to sort of have a different dynamism then, because we played tens, hundreds of gigs together, both with guitars. And Frank we have a song. So we wrote a song in launch 8. So these are all the launches we have. So this would be in the Elliot Shanzer series. So that comes out in 2029 or whenever it comes out. But we're over here right now. So we got the Changer, and then we got this launch 2. So we got Tierra del Fuego, which is on the book, and then the Changer's here. And we have all of the music recorded for all these albums is done. So it's starting to get old. I forgot the point of why I was bringing up this last one. We did a song in it called Street Sweeper, which is a song I wrote 3 o'clock one morning. I got up super early to go to work. I was biking, and it was even before the street sweepers were out. And Bangkok street sweepers are awesome. These ladies and men work super hard early in the morning, and they're dodging traffic. And I knew we were breaking up as a threesome, not no sort of antagonism. You were just going away and
Yeah.
keeping in touch. And I wrote that song sort of Beatles style, where the three of us were going to jam, me, then you, then Frank, in a 16 or 32 bar segment. I forget what it is now. And I think I have my Gibson at the recording studio. So we're at Dynamic Studio. Ken has been on this before. And we recorded the jam sequence, which is in Street Sweeper. So me, you, like the Beatles did. And when their last album, I thought, okay, if we're breaking up sort of, let's do it this way, like the Beatles homage. And you sat down. You didn't even go in the studio to record it. You sat in the control room with the Gibson. And you went straight into the board with distortion. So you weren't even going through an amp. And shredded that song. Yeah, and I was just listening to it in the car when I was waiting for you here,
Yeah.
when you were coming to meet me at a Gulch show, our sponsor,
Yeah.
Eddie Hemming, the boys. And it was so awesome, and you did it in one take. I said, God, Raj, that's good. You want to do it again? I said, no. You dig. I said, Ken, how was it? He said, it's awesome. Is that what you wanted to do? And I was like, exactly what I wanted to do. Now, maybe you played it in the room. I didn't see because we had a lot of things we were recording that day, but you put that. And so I listened to that song a lot.
Okay, that's cool.
And that jam is
that
the
was
three of us.
not, I remember that. I went back and listened to it because we talked about it several weeks ago or a couple of months ago or whatever. And so I had to go back and listen to it again. And I'm like, okay, now I remember. And it was like I did a lead and then Frank did a lead. And it was just like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Fun.
So, I mean, what you leaving taught me with Frank was like, wow. I mean, there was a lot of opportunity because of the way we set that up where you guys didn't play in other spaces that would have made a lot of that stuff so much better because I couldn't play the leads or I couldn't even play even the rhythms consistent with what those songs could have been. And yours, for example, because that was just an outright capitulation. I went backwards. It was power chord. It was like, it was Serenade for Strings over here, and it was, me doing bar chords. It's just very funny. I think back about that. Like, wow, what if we had started sort of more modern, like on laptop thinking and not live performance thinking? And if we had all sort of, who should play lead on this? And you'd have gotten stuck with drums, or maybe Frank would have 50% of the time, right? Because I'm the worst drummer by a long shot. So bass we might have thrown around differently, I wonder. Because you can play bass, right? I remember the first time you got up and played the Chili Peppers cover. I was like, all right, we got two bass players too. And so I think back about that. Just how many of these songs of the 90 we recorded together would have been very different and awesomer, right?
Yeah.
Just with two leads or, Hotel California style, you and Frank chasing each other because you're equally fast too, just for some strange reason with arpeggiating or just flying around, which always surprises me too because I never really see you practicing any of that stuff. Like, how the hell does he do this? But that's one of the things I think about. So I asked you, what do you think about, you brought some stuff up, but I think about that like, what is the creation process? What if we just did this by laptop 10,000 miles away from each other?
Well, there are bands doing that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And there are people that are jamming and they're in different countries and they just have a camera and they all show up and it comes out awesome.
Yeah, and we never wanted to be outside the same room even when we recorded, right?
Yeah.
And we'd get it done.
We're old fashioned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
it's funny, right?
Yeah, I don't know who's doing that kind of collaboration from different areas, but there's nothing like playing live. There's nothing like being in the same room jamming together.
We worked it out. We worked it out to conclusion. That was what we did after a while as we'd finish. I thought that was very professional about it. It was just we got it done. Well, I mean, so that brings us to date. And you're back here and you're going to make your way back to the States at some point. You got a home there and you're set up and established. But I'm really glad we got to include you into the podcast. I don't think I missed anything I wanted to talk about. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up today? Obviously, lots of other topics you and I talk about, just with life and stuff.
Sure.
But anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, it's great to be back.
Yeah.
And after, there are things that change when you leave for 3 years and come back.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still the same place. My Thai still sucks. I can barely talk to people. Nothing's changed there. But the people here are lovely, and you can't deny that.
Yeah.
So there's positive and negatives everywhere you go. But I mean, I was in Mexico City 2-3 months ago, I guess. Right. And it was fantastic to get back there because I hadn't been there since 2008.
Right.
So, it's good to be out traveling again. This whole COVID thing hopefully is behind us for good. We don't know what's next, but hopefully nothing like that again in the next 100 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad to be back out traveling, and, I got my same apartment that I used to have before.
That's
I'll probably
funny.
keep it.
Yeah.
I'll probably just keep it. Although the beach is calling me.
Yeah.
The beach is calling me. So, but I will be in the Philippines next month. So hopefully I'll be able to be in Manila at the same time that you guys are there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing there.
That'll be nice to, connect and see you guys play there.
Yeah.
And other than that, I got my little place back in Texas, and I'll probably spend some time living there and then some time living here, or we'll see how it goes. Everything is just completely wide open right now. I'm lucky that I'm living the life I'm living. I really am. To have that freedom to just be able to go where I want, when I want, and do what I want. That's not many people get to do that.
Yeah, well, it's great having you back. I mean, I think, I think Frank's skills have expanded so much. And we now in the office, you've seen what we've got, and you've seen the stuff we built out, you've seen the websites, and you've heard the Deliver now in the car that's coming out shortly. We couldn't have, I think, Frank, we couldn't have done this without your initial involvement.
Thanks,
it forced us in a direction. But I think about all that stuff you went through in the military and just sort of hunkering down and learning the language. And you were a doer at that point. As much as we wanted to go out to eat pizza
complete
after.
Opposite of now.
No, but like we you punched in.
Yeah.
And you punched in hungover, and you punched in tired, and you punched in happy, and all the above.
Yeah,
but
we do what we got to do.
Yeah, we did it, and it's thanks for that. But this is your legacy in here as well, to the extent, and people are cynical about that and kiss my ass, but it's still
Totally.
right.
Yeah,
So I appreciate that. And it's great to have you back. So you're part of
Thanks,
this
man.
family, and
Appreciate
I'm happy to give you something here to take with you.
Awesome.
That shows the hard work. But if you got nothing else to add, Franco, anything I missed? Should I? Yeah. Okay, Frank. Good. You mind playing a song with Frank here? You want to try More Than Words? That's something you guys
Sure,
used to do together?
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a bio break, and then we'll rejigger the room and see if we can figure out how to record this. We may use those little bugs again, or Frank may have some other contraptions, but let's do that.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks, Rod.
All
right, thanks. Let's do this, Franco.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, we're back for part 2 of the Roman Anton podcast with my good friend Roger DeNoon. Roger's agreed to sit with Frankensville Hung out in those chairs over there to play a song, and this is something probably the first night we hung out together at my old condo. You mentioned it earlier. That was one of the nights you guys sat down and played at, and the audience, the folks who were there really liked it, so I thought that might be a good way to sort of come full circle on this thing. So you guys mind playing that? Franco, you okay to play that?
Sure.
He says, okay. Raj, you good?
Good to go.
Good. We'll break out one of these guitars. We've already shifted the room around a little bit. So Roger DeNoon and Frankensville Hung God playing More Than Words by Extreme here in the Roman Anton podcast studio. So thank you.
Saying I love you is not the words I want to hear from you. It's nothing that I want to, not to say, but if you only knew how easy it would be to show me how you feel. More than words is all you have to do to make it real. Then you wouldn't have to say that you love me, 'cause I'd already know. What would you do if my heart was starting to? More than words to show you feel that your love for me is real. What would you If I took those words away, then you couldn't make things new just by saying I love you. Da 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 da. More than words. Da 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 da. Now that I will try to talk to you and make you understand, all you have to do is close your eyes and just reach out your hands and touch me. Hold me close, don't ever let me go. More than words is all I ever needed you to show. Then you wouldn't have to say that you love me, 'cause I'd already know. What would you do if my heart was torn in two? More than words to show you feel that your love for me is real. What would you say if I took those words away? Then you couldn't make things new just by saying I love you.
All right, thank you guys.
Nice, man.
Frankisville, Hung God, Roger DeNoon, doing More Than Words by Extreme. Roman Anton Podcast, Part 2. Okay. We are at Part 3 of the Roman Anton Podcast. Our guest is Roger DeNoon. Roger, welcome back to the Queen Bee.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Sukhumvit Soy 26. So I've mentioned this in prior podcasts. Sukhumvit is the name of the street right out here that runs through town that we are very familiar with. The Queen Bee is a place that is a favorite place for us. What's your history with this, Roger?
I discovered the Queen Bee back in 2015 when I first kind of moved here, and I was looking for open mic.
Huh.
I just wanted to find other musicians to jam with, and so I came here. I think it was like a Tuesday night or something. Everybody was real friendly, real nice people, and there was a list. So I just, I put my name on the list and waited until it was my turn. And I think I played guitar first. And then later on, I ended up on drums.
Huh.
And I would end up on drums for like 2 hours because I didn't have any other drummers. So, I'd be like, hey guys, I gotta go. And they're like, oh, one more. And so we'd just be playing, and I'd be playing until the end of the night, basically.
So so you would sign up, and other people would sign up for that same block, and so you'd play together?
Yeah, there was usually 3, 4, 5 guys up there at a time, and they were popular. The open mic guys were popular here. You had a lot of people, full house.
And so you play guitar.
Yeah.
You signed up to play guitar. So that was your first instrument of choice.
Well, yeah, because guitar's always been kind of my go-to.
Yeah.
I started, when I was young enough that I'm comfortable with guitar in my hands.
I didn't realize that. So, but you'd get dragged into drums because there are fewer drummers.
Yeah.
And so you did that here. So did you meet Frank that way?
Yeah. I think we played some open mics, and then we stayed in touch. We had our contact information, and then fast forward. Yeah, I think through line. And then fast forward to whenever we started playing together.
Right.
And you were like, oh, we need a bass player, and I'm like, I think I know a guy.
Yeah.
And that's how it all came.
So did Frank ever play bass here?
Yeah, I think you played bass. I think he played bass. I think he played guitar.
Drums?
Yeah, maybe.
Piano?
Maybe. I mean, the guy can play just about anything.
Right.
So.
And so when you signed up to play guitar, did you plan on singing with it?
Not really.
Right.
Not really, but it just sort of happened,
Because I see 4 mic stands back here, one over in the guitar corner.
Yeah.
Would you sing harmonies on stuff?
No, not so much.
Huh.
In fact, I would avoid vocals unless I was singing lead
Okay,
vocals, because
okay.
you gotta, for harmonies, you kind of have to practice. It doesn't come, it's not as second nature.
I don't know. Every Beatles song, you could do the harmonies right now, right?
No.
No.
No way.
Okay, all right. So, but yeah, all right. I get your point. Playing, but an open mic. So, did you play other open mics in town, or was this it?
This was the only one.
Huh?
But this one connected me to all the musicians in Bangkok.
Yeah.
I ended up playing with another band. I played with you guys. I sat in with other groups.
Right.
So it was a great time.
So there was another place you used to go to, I recall, near here that I think is closed. It had numbers in the name of it.
Well,
What was the name of that, Frank?
Check N99.
Check-in 99.
oh yeah, that was
Right. What were you playing there? Because that was
No, that was just I filled in one night.
Right, okay.
I filled in for another drummer.
Remember
It was
that?
a disaster.
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
Right.
I'll
It's
never
like-
forget
It
it.
was like jazz standards. Or
Well,
something.
it was okay. Here's what happened. So
No names.
this guy. No, I
This
couldn't
guy.
remember the names anyways. But this musician sends me a message. He says we need a drummer for tomorrow night or for tonight.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, tonight? Okay, can you send me the set list? He sends me the set list maybe an hour before the show, and I don't know half the songs. And there's like soul and R&B,
Right.
and I'm like, I have no idea. And now I'm not a pro drummer. I jam. I just play. Same with the guitar. I can't read a note of music. And so then there's this one song, and he's like, oh no, it's just like this. It's a 12-1 or a 4-5. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And so I'm just trying to follow him, and I'm like, oh, I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
And so now it's like I've got this little list of rules that before I ever fill in again, I'm like, okay, can't do this, can't be this, have to have a set list 24 hours.
Did he
in
kick you
advance.
out live, or did you finish the set?
No. Finish the set, but it was painful.
Did he say it was fine?
He didn't call me back.
Yeah, okay. All right. Frank, do you remember that?
No, Frank wasn't there. He wasn't there for
I remember the week you did that though, because
Oh, it's awful.
that was right around the 4th of July thing, wasn't it?
something like that.
Yeah.
Because I was playing with those guys then.
Right,
I was
right.
actively playing and getting out, and
Right.
I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And that set was okay, except for the songs I didn't know.
Right.
You can't expect somebody to successfully play a song they had never heard before. You know?
maybe not. I don't know. Pro.
Maybe pros can do it, but I'm not a pro, and I never claimed to be.
Yeah. So you found the scene here online?
Yeah, I think I searched like Facebook or something,
Uh-huh.
and I was in Bangkok, and it was like Bangkok open mic, and KingPhin was probably the only place that came up.
Yeah.
I don't think there was much, maybe in Thai there might have been, but nothing in English.
Did you ever go out and look at the music at Kosan, or did you not make it over there?
I've been to Khao San a few times. It's not my thing. It's a different vibe. It's mostly clubs and loud. I don't know if there's a lot of bands there or not.
Hmm.
But when I went, it was more like just like club music and huge speakers and
Yeah.
it was just around the city.
My recollection, Franco, there's like 10 or 12 bands that play on the street there, right? Like, yeah.
I played there last month.
Yeah, right. So it's
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and pretty well.
Well, it just goes to show you how much I know about Khao San.
Well, no, I mean, it's
never
just,
gone.
I thought, I've only been there a couple of times too, but Frank was playing there for a while, Friday nights or something, right after COVID, right before, I forget which.
Yeah, after our set here,
Yeah.
we have
yeah.
10:30
Yeah,
set there.
Yeah. Guitar?
I play drums.
Drums? Oh,
Really?
okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to carry anything with you, driving?
Mm,
So you drive as fast as you could cross town on a Saturday night to the weekend?
I use Roland Octopad.
Oh, you brought that with you?
Yeah.
Okay, and that plugs in, do they have amps?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, we've never tried that here. Huh. So those sessions you had here, you played with all sorts of people then, right?
Yeah, a lot of different people. Played with jazz guys, blues, classic rock, stuff that I had no idea what I
Yeah.
was playing, pop,
Yeah.
a lot of different stuff. We were playing Maroon 5 over here. Because
Yeah.
there was a guy, I think he was from Singapore, his name was Paul. Really a good, talented musician. And he could work a room. I mean, he
Yeah.
had the vocals and the range, and he knew what he was doing. So
Yeah.
he was really good.
Frank and him did that Crowded House song, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think he's still here.
Yeah. I haven't seen him since probably 2017 or so.
Yeah, it's a long time now.
Yeah, but he's a very good musician.
Yeah. So we played our first show here as a band.
Yeah.
Right around this poster time, maybe before, maybe after, I don't know. But Frank would remember the date. That was in December 2017.
Got me, and you just reminded me of that picture frame with our pictures and the first set list. and
Right,
everything.
right.
I think you still have that. I didn't take it back to the States.
Yeah, you left it with me. It's in the office.
Good. Before I go stateside again, I want to make sure I grab that.
All right.
That's a great memory.
For the viewers, would you like to have a shopping list of things you'd like to bring back?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me start writing some stuff down.
Gibson, could use that.
No, but I just remembered it when you pointed
Well,
it out.
it's funny
I
because you
remember
said
the night you gave it to
Yeah,
us,
you
know.
said save it, and so I wrapped it in bubble wrap and kept it in the
Nice.
office.
Appreciate
And
you
I've
doing
gotten
that.
confused which one's which because I know for that one we, and I know, did you take the posters for JITEP as well?
I never knew there were posters.
Yeah, so that was the bracelet in it and stuff. That's just sort of cool.
I don't
Right.
even recall that.
Yeah, I get that too. So you have two of those, I think.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
The other one has a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah, I
so,
understand,
you
I
know,
understand.
the JITEP, not that the JITEP one did. JITEP
Yeah.
was awesome,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just don't remember that one.
So Frank, first day we played was here
December
of
15, 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
December what?
December 15.
Yeah, 12/15/2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you remember that?
He's just crazy like that.
That's awesome.
He knows the date he flew in. It was funny because I was comparing that to, who was that, Rory? Or it was Rory's with
Rory,
3 years, right?
right.
So Frank knew his days when he first showed up here. So we played here. We rehearsed, and I asked you about this already in the first section, so I'm not going to go back over old ground. But we practiced a lot before we first played here.
Yeah, like for 3 years.
Was it 3 years or 2?
It was 3 years, man, because we started playing 2015. It was
Yeah.
October 2015, and you said December 2017. So
Yeah, 2 years.
it's okay, 2 years.
Yeah.
It felt like 3 years. I'm like, when are we going to get out in front of people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times. Good
Yeah.
times. Those practice sessions were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not so much in the beginning. In the beginning, they were rough around the
Shaky.
edges. Yeah, they were shaky.
What were they shaky because I was out of control?
They were shaky
dictatorial?
because we hadn't really learned each other's style yet. We hadn't really figured out what we were doing. You know, I'd say and then me, I wasn't like, you know, Mr. Awesome Drummer or anything. I was going through a learning curve.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think it took me that first year to kind of really get a good groove going.
Yeah.
And then we just had to kind of figure everything out. So that first year was kind of rough. And then after that, everything was just like with our eyes closed. No
Yeah.
problem.
Do you remember the opening drum beat to 10 Times a Day?
Yeah, I do remember
No.
that actually.
Yeah. So was that 2 toms or?
Yeah, I think I was using 2 toms, and then I would use a snare on a hit or something like that.
Because I remember, Frank, we got pretty sort of yelling it out, drum beat sounds, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it worked. I mean, after a while, we started to understand that language, right?
Well, it was funny too because I remember every time I'd forget because there's so many. Okay, just to give you guys some perspective,
This is
we're
like
talking
last week.
about 90 songs recorded
Right.
between. We started in 2015. These guys just kept writing like a song a day. Joey, hey, I was riding my bike this morning, came up with this new song. You know, it was a constant thing. But so we had 90 songs we had recorded by what, 2017, 2018, something like that. And so I couldn't remember how all the songs started with different drum beats and stuff. And every single time, you're like, it's just like,
Didn't make any sense.
I have no idea what you're
It worked the
talking
other night for the beginning of I Will, Shorty.
Yes, it did. Yeah. So
That's so ridiculous.
that's funny though. But
So-
I mean, yeah, we kind of just learned each other's
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
You know, it took time, but after a while, we're just like, got it.
So you have a kit, and we mentioned earlier where you live. You have a kit at your house there. Are you do you practice or do you play along with music you like, or what is your? Because you went from 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week down to Nothing.
Yeah.
When you went home.
Well, I was home for 2 years before I even picked up a kit.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I'm like, man, I can't just not practice all these years.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know how much longer I'd be home before I got back to Thailand. So I picked up a kit there, and I have an acoustic guitar. I still need to grab an electric guitar at some point. But I wasn't really, sometimes I would practice, like there's triplets and there's some John Bonham fills that I'm trying to learn. And the dude's a natural, and I'm like, I don't know how he does a lot of the stuff he does, but it's really fun once you get it. So sometime I was practicing, but most of the time, you know, I'd throw in the earbuds or whatever and just start jamming. And you know, especially summertime where I live, there's nobody there. So
would you play along to any of our stuff, or was that?
sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes, sometimes I just had a huge playlist of different stuff, and I just play along, and if I didn't like it, I'd skip to the next one.
So the Bonham triplets, do you? Are they out of songs, or are they out of other?
Oh
things?
yeah. He's got. There's one thing it's like a quadruplet, and then the triplets are constant in all of his solos and a lot of his stuff. And then he does one that's kind of like a Bonzo Fury that's like. He does one of those.
And what song?
Stairway to Heaven.
What part?
In the very end, when you know, as we wind on down the road, a shadow's taller than a.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Is that in the same time signature that he played?
He does his own thing.
Yeah.
He makes his space. I mean, the guy was a genius. You know, him, Neil Peart. There's just certain guys that are, you know, what's the guy's name for the police? Stuart Copeland.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, these guys.
Huh.
You know, the average person is never going to reach that.
Yeah.
So these guys are they're gifted.
Well, that's cool. So what's next for you, drumming wise or music wise? Are you just sitting back, low expectations?
Not really even thinking about it. Whatever comes.
Yeah.
You know, whatever happens. First, I got to figure out where do I want to settle down, because you know, coming back to Bangkok has been great, but I don't think I want to spend another 5 years here.
Yeah.
So, you know, looking at the Philippines, go there in November. Then I'll come back, probably spend a little more time here. I am thinking about, you know, Jomtien, but I don't know where the music is going to fit in right now. So, and then I'm also looking at going down like to Mexico, living, you know, half my time in Texas, half my time down in Mexico.
Whereabouts?
And I haven't decided yet,
Yeah.
but probably a beach town. Any place where there's a beach. And there's lots of great beaches down there. It's, you know, close to home. So, but I'm not making any decisions right now. I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens.
So you came back a couple weeks ago. We're in
like
October 2022,
Yeah,
a month
yeah.
ago. You sat in with us pretty quickly, and I thought we fell back into the groove pretty fast, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we could get back into it, no sweat at all.
What do you think, Frank? Was it different playing with Roger behind you than with playing with Shogo? I mean, or did you hear the old beats that we used to do?
Yeah, it's different, right?
It was funny, right? Because there were times like, wow, we haven't done it that way in 4 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we went right back to it, and it's completely different. I don't know how it's happened that way.
I don't know, because I mean, Shogo's a very good drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's real talented. But yeah, when I sit down with you guys, I can't do what he does, and I don't think he can do what I do. You know, we kind of just have our own thing that going on there. You know, but that's part of what makes being a musician so much fun. Is, you know, you can emulate, you can try to imitate, but you just can never play like other people.
Yeah. So we did Biggest Deal of All Time at opening for Jitep too, right? That was a real departure for us.
How so?
I don't know, but I just knew walking out there, it's like, wow, these guys could do this for a long time. I could leave them out there and they'd be jamming for a while. So it was a very funny thing, and you know, I like the sort of the routine, right? Yeah. So that's funny. Well, you know, it's been great having you back. It's been fun. It's been memory lane. I'm glad we got together to do this. I wanted to have you up front, but COVID, you weren't coming back, so you didn't come back for 2 years. So we started the podcast. But I feel like now Frank and I have the complete box set of our sort of genesis, and I'm glad we did the first parts of this interview. So if there's such a thing as a Roman Anton fan, you now have the full look, and I'm glad we got to do this.
Cool.
This
Me
is
too.
important to have me come, for you to do this with us here. But to come back to Queen Bee, so Queen Bee to me, you know, has a lot of good live music in it. And we're probably louder than some, but we love, I still love coming here. It's exciting for me to do, and this was our first gig and kicked off Roman Anton. So loyal to the place, we love the place, and so if you're ever in town, check it out. Facebook, Queen Bee, gigs here almost every night, and it's good music. There's good food. Get good Thai food if you like the Thai food. Come on in. You got
The burgers. Right?
You and I have had our
Burgers are
share.
great.
Frank, what would you say between the three of us? 1,000 burgers?
Probably.
Have we hit the 1,000 burger? Kunjum? Have we had over 1,000 hamburgers in this restaurant, the three of us? You think? 1,000 hamburgers? You think between the three of us? Okay, the owner just said we had 1,000 hamburgers, so we're in the 1,000 hamburger club here at Queen Bee. So if you're in town, come to Queen Bee, Soy 26, right across from the Devil's Tree Hotel. We can't probably advertise, but that's a location gift. So Roger, it was good having you here. I appreciate you
Enjoyed
doing
it,
this.
man.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to
Great
be
seeing you
back.
again too.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
1, 2, 3, quiet.